Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about how to study effectively. Now that I've finished college and made it through without failing any classes, I feel like I have a little bit of clout in this area. So this is more along the lines for people who maybe have a little trouble studying, a little trouble absorbing information. And I just have a list of a few things that sort of helped me at times. There were definitely times I struggled, and I decided, hey, I'm going to go basically figure out how to study properly because doing what the teacher said was not working, which, the teachers usually say, read the chapter, do the homework. Okay, all right, that sounds reasonable, right? Um, but the problem with that is I just had so much to do that I would have like one day to read an entire chapter and like an hour or two to do the homework, and I would just rush it. Because I'd have no choice. I'd have to rush it, and I would end up usually absorbing very little because I would just hit that deadline and just have to be done. And so I'd fill out everything the best I could, and sure, it got me through, but it didn't feel very effective as far as like actually absorbing information. So, what I want to talk about here is more about absorbing information so you don't have to spend so much time studying, so that you can just kind of hit all the core stuff and I'll be done with it. So I've got a little list here that I'm sort of going to riff off of, and I'm going to I'll leave it a little open-ended. And this is the list. This is some of the things. So I'm just going to go through it. It's not really in any particular order, but I'm going to go from top to bottom and just talk about it. Um, and I might drop a few links in the editing of this video for things that help me, but that's just a maybe. All right, so there's some really obvious things. Like, there's some really obvious things you should avoid. Um, obviously, drugs and alcohol aren't going to help you, really. I mean, some people might say, hey, they use this or that to help kick them into gear. Maybe coffee's okay a little. I think coffee's fine. Anything with a little caffeine's probably okay, but you even got to be careful with that because after a while, it's like, by the third cup of coffee, it doesn't have the same effect anymore. So like one is usually good. And now everybody's different on that. But I found if I just keep drinking coffee and keep studying, eventually I'm just like I feel like my mind is like just scatterbrained and it doesn't really work anymore. But there are times when it does to get a cup of coffee and really focus on something. So that's just sort of a side note. I don't think there's a whole lot of substances necessarily that can help you. It's more like a routine and a practice and a level of interest. You have to be interested in something in order to retain it. That's just how life is. All right. So how to study. Let's jump right into it, shall we? Great. Okay. This is a really, really big one that I think a lot of students miss. Rest. You have to rest. I hear about these all-night cram sessions and not getting any sleep before a big exam or an SAT, and to be honest, I might have done that once or twice, but it's a relatively foolish thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that well. It won't really make your grade that much better than a short-term study will. And it's basically because you're really tired and your brain doesn't work very well anymore when you're really tired. It wants to sleep. And you're telling it, nope, you can't. You got to keep going. Try to do this, try to do that. And it's just like the whole forcing aspect doesn't work. So let me just riff a little story here, or more like a scenario. So one of the things that has happened to me in the past is I've noticed, especially with like my parents and stuff, and I don't want to get too specific, but like basically everything my parents told me to do, I didn't do. And, or wait, yeah, basically everything my parents told me to do, I didn't want to do, and everything they told me not to do, I wanted to do. Now, why does this make what? Clearly, my parents had my best interest in mind, so why would it be like opposite? Now, this took me a while to figure out, but It's because it has something to do with the stuff they tell you to do is kind of really obvious and you already know. So you don't feel like you're learning anything. And when they tell you don't do this, you're like, well, there's something there. I need to learn about this. I need to learn why not to do it. So I'll start by going and doing it. Something like that. I'm just going to get back to the list. If you're having trouble resting, remember that resting is just about as effective as studying. And this might help you get some rest. So if you're feeling like you're not studying well and feeling burnout, but you can't sleep because you're stressing, just try your best to settle yourself. You know, get all. What helps me is just getting all ready, getting all like, I don't know. I like taking showers at night, so if I take a shower and get all cleaned up and get all kind of like ready for sleep, that tends to help me go to sleep. And just the thought of, okay, if I get more rest, this is essentially just as effective as studying. I could rest for 8 hours, or I could study for 8 hours. Maybe not 8 hours, maybe 6 hours, or whatever you sleep. Everyone's a little different there. But the point is, if you get rest, things sink in, you absorb all the things you've been studying throughout the day, kind of like get settled in your mind, and you'll just feel better. Whereas if you just stay up all night attempting to cram, you'll probably get distracted and not cram very much. And even if you do cram, none of it's going to settle into your mind, and you're going to forget it probably right away. So you might as well get some rest, feel good, and effectively, it'll help your grade more than studying all night probably will. So at any point, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about these rules or if they really work. All right, now let's move right on to the next thing I have written down here. There's a such thing as hard study and soft study. And I really don't remember where I heard this before, but it just like clicked and I was thinking about it one day, so I wrote it all down. Now, hard study is like hitting the books, learning the new material. It's more about new material and trying to get new stuff in, like hard information into your brain that you know. And then there's soft study. Soft studies more about doing problems, working on things that involve the knowledge that you need to know. So the idea is usually, and I guess you could do these in either order. You could attempt to do problems or projects, news, or anything that relates to the topic. You could attempt it, and you'll probably realize that you don't quite have what it takes to solve it. So then you go to the hard information, try to absorb all that as you can, and then back to the soft. And it takes a combination of both of these to truly absorb things. Like you can read about how to do something, but until you actually do it, you're probably not going to be very effective at it. So you need a combination of both of these, the hard study and the soft study. You need to hit the books. You need to get the new information. You need to get the idea or whatever it is. You need to get that in your head. But then you need to practice it, which is the soft part. And once you've practiced it, you've got it down. And going back to the hard study again, you'll just be like, yeah, I already know this, and you won't need to do it anymore. So the thing about hard studies, it's really a short-term thing. It's like you get the information, absorbing new information. And once you have it, there's no reason to ever go look at it again. It's a very quick thing. So you can literally study something. Now it all varies a bit how big of a topic is, what it is. But basically you can study something really hard, and then once you've studied it really hard and done the hard study, you go practice it. You go do a project that involves it, do your homework that involves it. Or what I found to be most effective often is coming up with my own stuff to do involving it, because sometimes there's just not good stuff given to you by like teachers, and it almost seems like they don't know what they're doing sometimes. Now your experience may vary, but I felt like I had a lot of teachers that really it didn't seem like they really knew what they were doing, and they were just kind of like going in an order based on the book or based on the previous curriculum, based on the previous professor. A loud slap sound was slapping my leg. So it seemed really helpful for me to kind of have my own stuff to work on at times. All right, so now we've kind of gone over hard and soft study. So hard study is reading books, absorbing new information. It could be other things. It could be watching videos, doing lectures about where they're giving information. Soft study is doing problems, working on a project, reading news, or anything that relates to the hard study in practice or in real life terms. So if you're learning to build a boat, you read about it, or hard study could also be watching somebody else do it, like sitting back and watching a master build a boat, and then the soft study would be trying it yourself. But if you skip the whole watching somebody else do it and you just wing it on your own, you're going to fail. But that also means you might absorb better when you go to watch somebody, because you kind of know what to watch for. Is like, how did you get those seams right and that sort of thing. So there's no best order for these. Hard study sounds better first than soft study, but sometimes it's the other way. It just depends, and it depends on how it feels to you. All right, so hard study times are usually much shorter. Intense focus on specific subjects. Hard and soft combo really reinforce what is learned the most. So these are the big things I wanted to touch on. And another big thing that I've heard a lot that seems to be true is the 80-20 rule. And that's basically sort of I don't remember who came up with it, but it's a rule that says you get the most of whatever out of 20% of the work. So say you're doing 100% study, your entire bit of study. 80% of that is generally going to be wasted, and 20% is going to be like super, super good. So it's a matter of finding that 20%. And I think this can be changed. I think if you get really good study practices where you're not wasting much time and where you're resting appropriately, and apparently the consensus, by the way, for how long you should study is about 30 minutes. If you're studying more than 30 minutes and you start to feel like you're unable to focus and your mind is drifting, you're probably not absorbing anymore. And it's usually best to take a break. 5, 10, 15 minutes, walk around, go do something, and come back to it. So I really hope these tips help people get better grades, study better. These are the sort of things that definitely helped me and that I had to sort of learn the hard way. And, I hope you guys do well in your studies, or, whatever it is. This is sort of geared towards school, but it really relates to anything you want to learn. I'm a big coder programmer, so I have to constantly learn new things. And I think I'm about to start a new job where I'm going to have to learn a lot more new things. So I'll be putting these into practice to learn things quickly and excel in my field. All right. Have a good day, everyone. And I'll see you in the next video. Keep coding, learning, and doing your thing. Peace out.